Hello everyone, in this compilation we'll show you some astonishing footage we've captured. We'll witness unique natural phenomena, explosive volcanic eruptions, extraordinary man-made disasters, and impressive explosions. We'll also see funny and cute moments caught on camera. Make sure to like this video right away. Your support motivates us to create more interesting compilations for you. Are you ready? Let's get started then. A group of guys decided to set off fireworks, but they didn't choose the best location for it. They lit them near a dry tree and a palm tree. Just a few sparks were enough to start a fire. The flames spread very quickly. At first, they tried to extinguish it with a garden hose, but it was clearly not enough, as the fire spread at a furious pace and the sparks flew in all directions, which could have caused an even bigger fire. They had to call the firefighters, who quickly managed to contain the blaze. This is why you should always be careful when setting off fireworks. This is how rocks and mountain formations are split. A lot of explosives are used for this. Holes are drilled in the necessary places where dynamite is placed, and upon command, a simultaneous detonation occurs, breaking the solid rock into small pieces. This cat decided to find something tasty in the supermarket. He entered the store and started searching for something to snack on. Wandering between the shelves, he found a box of sausages and stole one. A while later, he returned, but this time with a friend, heading to the familiar spot. At first, the ginger cat seemed to disawed him, but after catching the scent, he wanted to eat too. The store clerks were watching this through the security cameras, but decided not to scare the cats and see what they would do next. The two four-legged thieves started pulling out sausages one by one. The cats pulled out a few sausages, trying to open the packaging, but they weren't very successful, so they scattered them on the floor. Eventually, the cat grabbed one treat and left the store. These frames show a series of explosions in the Tianjin port of China in August 2015. The explosions occurred at a container storage station. Initially, people saw one explosion, but a few seconds later, a much more powerful one followed, magnitude stronger. 800 tons of ammonium nitrate exploded, which is roughly 256 tons in TNT equivalent. Fires caused by the initial explosions kept on burning uncontrollable for several days. While the fire was being fought, several more explosions occurred. The tragedy resulted in 173 deaths and hundreds of injuries. This explosion looks terrifying. A huge fireball lit up everything around. It could be seen for tens of kilometers as the sparks flew caused further ignition. The people who recorded this decided to move to a safer location after the second explosion. Have you ever seen a pickup being transported on a truck, which is being transported on another truck, which is being transported on another truck? Quite an unusual way to transport vehicles. Perhaps the driver is delivering 3 trucks to their destination, and the pickup is his own vehicle that he'll drive home. In mountain quarries, you can find incredibly beautiful minerals. They're called geodes. These crystals formed hundreds of thousands of years ago. Their sizes can be impressive, with some having a diameter of over a meter. You could spend a long time examining their structure, which resembles huge salt or sugar crystals. These volcanic rocks are usually used to make jewelry because of their beautiful structure and transparency. Geologists also use them for local studies. Large clusters of crystals are often difficult to extract without damaging due to their size, as shovels, pickaxes, and hammers are used for this purpose. This is a simple but effective way to unload a haystack on a sloping pasture. The stack is loaded onto a trailer, and then the vehicles reverse. After that, the vehicle brakes sharply, causing the haystack to fall and start spreading out. This way, you don't need to spend a lot of time and effort to feed the animals, just a bit of ingenuity. Notice how the helper dog in the field assists the farmer in herding the flock of sheep. A ship collided with a boat carrying bricks, which immediately started to sink. A few people panicked and jumped overboard, while the rest moved to the highest point of the boat. However, the vessel sank within seconds due to its heavy cargo. Fortunately, everyone was rescued and no one was injured. In China, there are entire districts of high-rise buildings and unfinished structures that were never completed. This is because there weren't enough buyers to finish the construction. As a result, these structures have stood like ghosts for decades. Periodically, they are demolished. Special crews use explosives to turn the skyscrapers into piles of rubble in an instant. Sometimes, though, things don't go as planned, and the structure falls onto the construction site. People have to quickly flee to safety. I mean, just look at this impressive scene where several high-rises fall like houses of cards. In the Czech Republic, they hold tractor races with obstacle courses. This turns into a real festival with thousands of spectators and dozens of participants. Tractor drivers race at high speeds through a challenging obstacle course with sharp turns, hills, and pits. Just look at how skillfully this driver maneuvers the tractor, rapidly turning the wheel and shifting gears. You need to be one with your machine to handle such a heavy and seemingly unwieldy tractor. The track has some quite dangerous sections where you need to slow down and pass very carefully to avoid flipping over. Parts of the road are covered in mud, and there are even smaller water obstacles to overcome. On difficult sections, the driver bounces in his seat and barely holds onto the frame. Notice how he doesn't have a seatbelt, which would definitely help him stay in place. Would you like to see such a show in person? Let us know down in the comments. A bird decided to dance with a child. The little girl started jumping near the enclosure. The bird liked it, so it spread its wings and began to mimic her movements. They clearly found reports and entertained the people watching nearby. A ship leaving the port miscalculated the distance and accidentally hit a concrete platform. Its right side took a heavy blow, strong enough for everyone on board to feel it. Several dozen meters of metal plating were destroyed. The concrete platform itself was also damaged. The ship had to return to the port for repairs. It was saved from sinking because it was a double hull, and only the outer shell was damaged. A man performed a dangerous stunt by jumping from a great height into a pool. If he had slipped a little or not made it, it could have resulted in some serious injuries. Luckily, it ended well. This looks like two friends at a bar after a long work week. I think these chickens have had enough beer. One is already lying down, and the other clearly wants some drunk adventures. This is how a volcanic eruption happens. It looks like a rocket engine. Gas, ash, and smoke shoot out from the mountain under enormous pressure. Large rocks are thrown into the air, scattering hundreds of meters around. Notice that this is not sped up footage. The gas is really escaping extremely fast. You can see red flames at the point where the smoke is coming out. Such eruptions occur when a large amount of gas accumulates underground and suddenly finds a weak spot in the Earth's crust, breaking through it. The excavator operator is demolishing this gigantic cooling tower. He carefully breaks it down, and it looks like it's slicing open a tin can. In an instant, the tower gives way and collapses inward, just like crushing an empty soda can. This is a real river of stones flowing down one of the mountain slopes in Croatia. It is a pretty dangerous phenomenon, so these men are taking a risk standing so close to the flow of dozens of tons of rocks. Pilots have their own fun. This man decided to drop a roll of toilet paper from his plane. It started unrolling like a kite and continued flying. The pilot decided to circle around the spot. The roll fully unrolled and kept flying, disappearing and reappearing in view. It resembles the fall of streamers. If you forgot your golf clubs, no worries if you have a shovel on hand. But if you're a builder and forget your shovel, a golf club probably won't help. This excavator operator is someone to envy because he's demolishing a huge building and is very close to it. Just imagine what steel nerves he must have. When the structure began to fall, a huge cloud of dust rose into the air and enveloped the excavator. It looks like a scene from an epic action movie. The poachers decided to catch fish with a net, but they certainly didn't expect to fight back. The fish attacked the poachers and slapped them quite a bit. Just look at how many fish there are. I've never seen so many in one place. That's why poaching is bad. You might end up with a good beating. A true masterpiece was created by a construction crew using an excavator and bulldozers. They made a huge portrait of the Mona Lisa out of sand and various building materials. He uses the bucket like a paintbrush. The excavator operator has a real talent. Remember the super popular snake game on phones? Well, this is a snake game in real life. It slithers between the bricks on a wall. Just look at how smoothly it moves. It fits perfectly between the bricks, as if the wall was built just for it. Did you ever play Snake? Let us know down in the comments. Working in quarries is very dangerous. This excavator fell from a high hill and flipped over several times during the fall. It was destroyed, but thankfully no one was injured in the accident. A man was harvesting in a field and noticed some strange movement in the wheat. He was surprised when an entire family of wild boars ran out. Just look at how funny it is to see these little boars running in a line behind their parents. This is the cutest little tornado I've ever seen. Dozens of inflatable pools being sold on the street were lifted into the air. A colorful whirlwind rose several dozen meters as if it were some kind of celebration. The pool scattered around the area. People were amazed by what they saw and started recording this unusual phenomenon. Some even managed to catch a few pools. The owner probably had to spend a lot of time getting them back. And here's another tower demolition with an excavator. It fell right onto an abandoned building and completely destroyed it. Hopefully that was the plan. If so, then the excavator operator is a real genius. Cross-sea waves are an incredibly beautiful and rare phenomenon that can be seen from above. The waves move towards each other and at one point merge, forming extraordinary patterns that resemble a grid. This looks especially beautiful at sunset when the water takes on a reddish hue. You could watch such a sight for hours, but it usually only lasts a few minutes. This man saw a turtle that had stopped breathing on the beach. It's unclear what had happened to it, but its life was definitely in danger, so he decided to save it. He began performing CPR on the motionless animal. There was water in its lungs, so he pumped it out. After that, the man began giving the turtle artificial respiration, and miraculously, it started to revive. He continued resuscitating it for several minutes until the animal fully recovered. The man released it, and the turtle was able to swim away. This incident proves that there are many kind people in the world. Animals often also help each other, even if they belong to entirely different species. A fish had been thrown near the shore and was trapped. At first, a crow tried to save it, but it was too small for the task. The other bird arrived. At first, it might seem like it wanted to eat the fish, but that's not the case. The bird carried it further and released it away from the shore. The fish was saved. These men were peacefully fishing and enjoying the silence when suddenly a huge plane landed on the water right in front of them. They definitely didn't expect to see that. You seek some peace away from the city and suddenly a plane nearly lands on your head. A climber was ascending a steep rock when suddenly he noticed something going wrong. A piece of the rock broke off and fell just a few meters away from the extreme sportsman. If it had happened in his path, it could have ended tragically. Even professionals who conquer extremely difficult heights are always at risk of encountering such situations. This worker clearly doesn't know what safety precautions are if he decided to sit under a working attraction. It moves literally a few centimeters from his head, although perhaps he thinks that wearing a helmet automatically makes him invulnerable to any danger. The spectators are shocked by the worker's calmness and are recording him on their phones. This excavator operator got an unusual tattoo on his arm in the style of his profession. Now he has fun with it. He must really love his job if he decided to do this. And these farmers managed to grow a watermelon of a fantastic size. Just look at it. It's bigger and heavier than a child. The boy climbs on top of it and can't wrap his arms around it. This video is like a real stress reliever. It calms and mesmerizes. You could watch these harvesters collecting grass in the field in perfect acres for a long time. I think perfectionists will enjoy this. You shouldn't leave pets unattended for a long time. These two dogs were sitting in a room, and one of them decided to chew on a device with a battery and puncture the battery. It started smoking and sparking until it exploded. The fire began to spread on a soft pillow. The dogs just watched as a huge fire started in the middle of the room. They couldn't do anything, but you can see in the video that they were worried about what had happened. Fortunately, the four-legged ones weren't injured, but the room was burnt down. That's why pets should always be supervised and kept in a safe place. A very clumsy driver didn't notice a metal post right in the middle of the road. You have to wonder why the post is there in the first place. Now, he'll have to pay a hefty sum of repairs. A police officer is rushing over him. Hopefully, he didn't get a ticket for inattentiveness on top of everything else. These huge, fluffy moths are Cercopia moths. They are the largest found in North America. These giant silk moths have a wingspan of 13 to 18 centimeters. They live in deciduous forests east of the Rocky Mountains in the United States and Canada. They are even bigger than some birds, and their colorful coloring makes them one of the most beautiful and unusual creatures you can find in this area. This is a huge gorge. It formed tens of thousands of years ago. It's likely that there was once a river there. A tectonic rift occurred. Now, a river flows along its bottom, and the slopes are overgrown with greenery. Fields and settlements surround the gorge. There's animosity between these two cats, but a man with a container lid keeps them from fighting. When the barrier is in place, they calm down. but as soon as the lid is lifted, they start meowing and prepare to attack each other again. This is why it's important to follow traffic rules, especially in bad weather when the road is icy. The driver saw a car braking ahead. A truck began dangerously overtaking it. The driver couldn't brake due to the slippery road and had to make a dangerous maneuver. He veered into the oncoming lane where a semi-truck was approaching. The semi-truck driver immediately began to swerve onto the shoulder, but an accident was inevitable. A man was flying on a hang glider when a black vulture joined him. At first, the bird accompanied him, flying alongside, sometimes descending, sometimes ascending. Then, it decided to sit down for a rest. The vulture wasn't afraid of the man and even allowed itself to be petted. Notice that there's a tag on its right leg, so it might be a tame bird. That's probably why it's not afraid of people. Finally, the eagle decided to nibble on the man's shoe. Two workers quarreled and decided to give each other a beating at the construction site. They used everything that came to hand. The man who threw a stick at his colleague didn't expect to get a beating in return. This is the moment when a column of ash erupted from the Ubico volcano in the Kuril Islands. A massive cloud rose hundreds of meters into the air. Tourists who were walking nearby managed to film it. According to them, a new crater formed there. It's an extraordinary sight that not everyone is lucky enough to see alive, and so close to the volcano itself. Would you like to see something like this with your own eyes someday? Write it down in the comments. This incident happened in a quarry. Apparently, the river located upstream nearby overflowed and water started flowing down uncontrollably. Along with the water, rocks began to tumble down. At first, the excavator driver tried to hold back the flow by standing in the path of the rock-filled river, but he quickly realized that this was a bad idea. His colleagues began to quickly run to a safe place. The driver himself decided to evacuate his machine. The excavator was nearly swept away by the flow. Just look at how quickly it starts to expand and with tremendous force floods the quarry. One of the excavators standing nearby was almost completely buried under rocks and soil. An urgent evacuation of the equipment from the quarry began. Dozens of trucks and excavators began to drive out with the workers to a safe place. This is what a waterspout looks like. These people who were sailing nearby managed to capture this incredibly beautiful phenomenon. The vortex was an uneven shape. It seems to connect with the sky and the water surface. The waterspout is almost transparent because it's made of water droplets and vapor, unlike regular land-based tornadoes filled with dust. It's passing quite close to the boat, so it's dangerous for the passengers. It may seem like a waterspout is still, but if you look at the base, you can see it spinning at a tremendous speed. So, the tourists decided to sail away from it and avoid getting into any trouble. A surveillance camera captured a motorboat speeding along. The driver didn't notice a taut rope stretching across the water and crashed into it. The boat instantly stopped and flipped over. It was severely damaged in the accident. A dust devil formed near a military base. One of the soldiers decided to run into its center. Just look at how enthusiastically and joyfully he does it. You can see that a few more soldiers decide to do the same, but this is very dangerous. Never do what they did. Even a small dust devil can cause injuries, especially if there's debris in the airflow that can knock you down and cause harm. And which video impressed you the most? Write about it down in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We regularly post interesting video compilations, so we'll see you in the new videos.